There's a lot of talk of technology, AI taking over jobs, etc., etc. And if you look at the last job or labor information within the UK, it's just increasingly getting worse. In addition to that, the fear-mongering centered around AI and agentic tools is being said again and again and again. And although AI and agentic tools increasingly have become things that we use in our everyday life, we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet where it's going to truly take over all of our jobs. However, saying that, for those of you who are really trying these tools out and seeing how it fits into your workflow, it's becoming quite a useful thing. So today I want to be talking about how I've started to either automate or improve the process of things within my portfolio career. And so here, really it's about making sure that we reduce as much stress as possible. And I've got a quick sort of like lines or quote here. If you're always busy, your systems are broken. Because the truth is, most people aren't overwhelmed because they have a portfolio career. They're overwhelmed because they're trying to run it without any structure, without any system, and without any clarity. Now, what do I mean by all of this stuff there? There was one rugby teacher who once said to me, "You're most successful when you're busiest." And I was 15 years old or so, and I thought that was sage advice. But actually, that advice led me to burnout. It led me to increased anxiety. It led me to situations where I felt like I had to do so much in order for me to be effective and achieve the things I want to achieve. Now, it doesn't work like that, my friends. Don't get me wrong. You need to work hard, okay? But being busy for busy's sake doesn't mean anything. It just means you're taking up space and time. And so it comes down to structure, which are basically neat patterns in time and existence that enables you to work more effectively. When it comes to systems, it is really the intercalated processes that help you improve your output, whether this is being more productive, i.e. from an efficiency standpoint, or from improving quality. So when we really break down these terms, it helps us understand what we're trying to do. And so before I continue, for those of you who are interested, okay, if you want to check out this Escape the Career Trap PDF, then feel free to check it out. This has got, I think, 10 or 11 clear steps that you need to follow in order for you to escape the career trap and move into something that is more conducive to your career. Now, the first thing I want to start off with is a little bit of context. So a portfolio career isn't doing loads of things at one time just because it's the buzzword. I think other words for it is multifaceted or squiggly careers or, all of this kind of stuff there. Nah, it's about design, and it's about making sure that you are doing something that you have built and engineered yourself. That is the most important thing to remember. And so if you're taking on too much, you have to think to yourself, how do you not take on too much? In a previous video that I did, I spoke about the 3 different sort of like areas or strands or pillars that help me manage my time better. There is the core foundations, there is the growth foundations, and there is the learning foundation. So with the core, this is going to be a contract that you're doing that is generating most of the revenue. It's about managing your cash well and being clear about who you are as a person. When it comes to the growth element, this is where you start to test your ideas with your content or coaching or community. And then with the learning element, this is where you're trialing new things and you're testing it. But as I say all of these things, there is a priority order in which you do stuff. And so the focus for us is making sure that our core areas are automated or delegated or efficient so that we can invite more opportunity into those growth areas. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, people think that chaos is normal. So what is meant by this? Essentially, it means that a lot of people feel like if I'm busy, if there's stuff happening, oh yeah, blah, 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 all of this nonsense. No, we're not acting like that. We can still act accordingly. So anytime you start to see burnout in any of these different types of people, okay? Your consultants, your coaches, your creators, your contractors, it just means they're doing too much. Now, even recently, to a point, there's been a time where I've just been like, oh, it's taken on way too much. I feel like I'm burnt. But you have to take a step back because, yes, we know there are some seasons where you're going to have to just do what you need to do. But there are other times it's self-inflicted. And you need to think to yourself, I'm not a tree. I can move. I got legs. I got hands. I got a brain. So what needs to change? What needs to change? And so, I've spoken about sort of like, my experience, but here I've got a sort of like a breakdown of kind of like the program cycle in a way. And why have I got this? Well, the way I see it is successful portfolio careers have some sort of mandate. And in this instance, what we're really saying is, what is the reason for why you have this portfolio career? Why do you want to do this? And so the business case may be, okay, you really thinking about what time, energy, resources do you need in order for you to be effective? For some people, maybe hiring a coach. For other people, maybe getting a virtual assistant. It just depends where you're at. So it helps you define certain things and be clear about what you need, but also think about what you need to do. And actually, is focusing on the delivery mechanism that's going to be really important, because if you've been doing stuff, okay, let's say, for example, you are a consultant who is also a creator. I'm an example of that. There is going to be some marketing activities that you do. That could be posting on LinkedIn. That could be posting on YouTube. And so if you've done the work yourself, you may need to sort of assess what you're doing to see if it's optimal. What do I mean by this? Well, let's move on to section 2. So section 2 basically is talking about the fact that you need to get really clear about what it is that you do. So I would suggest a 2-week audit. Why do I say 2 weeks? Because no week is the same. You could do 1 week if you're quite efficient and your days are quite similar each week. But essentially, you want to highlight what you're actually doing. You want to document it from A to Z. And how do you do this? Really, you can record this on, you can record this on a video call as an example. And that transcript can be put into Google Gemini, and then it can create an SOP for you as an example. So that's one way of doing it. Okay. So recording what you do. Another way is you could just literally speak into a voice note app, and then AI can turn it into a transcript and do the same thing. Or you can write it down, do it old school, whatever you want to do. But once you've done this stuff, you want to categorize it into a bit of an Eisenhower matrix. If you want to learn more about Eisenhower matrix, I've got a video on that I probably did about 8 or 9 years ago. You can check it out. And it's split into these different quadrants. So what is urgent and important? So the urgent and important stuff, okay, here is your priority. This is your priority. You have to do. Not urgent, but important. This is strategic stuff. Okay. So this is stuff that will help you determine your approach moving forward and produce the unique value that you're trying to get. Then you've got urgent and not important. And really what this is basically, you just need to get it out of the way. Okay. You need to get it out of the way. This is where you delegate or automate. And then not urgent or not important. This is a big fat, okay, you just want to cross it out completely. And that's what you want to do. And so with that in mind, what are we focusing on in this instance? Well, we're focusing on this, delegate and automate. That's what you want to focus on, because this is telling you what you should be delegating and automating. With the priority stuff, you're going to be focusing on. And with this, you're going to schedule ahead of time. That's what you're going to do. And this is how this works. And so when reviewing this stuff also, you want to be in a situation where you are kind of like highlighting the 7 key wastes. Now, I don't believe these are the 7 key wastes. Okay. I just said this in my sort of like audio voice notes when I was preparing this stuff. But you want to check out Lean Principles, type in 7 key wastes. Different examples include time wastes, energy wastes, resource wastes. I think there is probably material waste. Who knows? Point being made is go and check that out and see what applies to some of the stuff that you're doing and see if you can streamline it. And so with your personal mandate that I spoke about before, you want to be in a position, I'm still crossing out mandate, oh my gosh. You want to be in a position where you're clear about these things. Why does this exist? What's the context behind it? What are the benefits? What do I need? Simple. Let's keep it moving. So now that we've got this, we've spoken about like what you actually do. You want to get to the second part, which is systemize before you delegate. So we know that when it comes to the Eisenhower matrix, we are focusing on the bottom left part of the quadrant. We're focusing on this area here. And so with that in mind, again, these are some things that we can consider. Admin tasks, email tasks, content uploading, document prep, all of this different stuff could be automated to some degree. Now, if you can't do it yourself, this is where you need to look at your budget. And this is why I spoke about almost like the brief elements, the project brief elements to help you determine whether you can afford this stuff. This is why, those 3 different pillars I spoke about, where the core element looks at context, contract, and cash, that cash bit is crucial because it helps to support this stuff if you need that help. And so if we move down, again, this is me just really highlighting the different ways in which you can build these SOPs. And then you want to start looking for help, okay? And I'll probably do a video at some stage talking about how I got my virtual assistant. So the first thing you do is you record what you're doing. You teach it to your VA, then you don't have to get them to re-record the task, but you get them to do the task and highlight if they have any questions, because you want to train them so that they understand exactly what they need to do. But in doing so, you need to be very clear about what the success criteria is. So what does good look like? If you are creating a piece of content, and let's say you're leveraging AI to do it, how do you make sure that it feels like it's you? Well, obviously you need to either write it yourself or iterate it, but there may be certain grammatical things that need to change. So define what success looks like in terms of your criteria. And then you want to review this on a periodic basis, but have meetings to basically address any concerns. And of course, you'll have a communication channel anyway. So this is where a virtual assistant becomes really, really powerful. And so again, I've spoken about all of this stuff here, so I don't need to go through that. But where do you get these virtual assistants? UK is expensive, I'll be honest with you. And some people may be like, oh, that's really bad, but I need to think about my pocket. I need to. So there are other places in Africa, okay? West Africa, such as Ghana, Nigeria. You've got Kenya, which is more East Africa. You've got South Africa. You've got the Philippines. You've got other places as well. But you can do your research. And if you want to find out more, then let me know and I can send that to you. And so with that in mind, we have these different caveats. And let me just make sure that I don't get any more. Actually, I'm going to keep on getting sort of distractions, so it's fine. So when you're meeting these virtual assistants, you want to make sure that, again, you are highlighting these different things or you're doing these different things. So you want to interview them. You want to make sure that you interview them. You want to test them. So you have to devise some sort of test. You can get ChatGPT to help you with that. But this is why you need to really understand what you do. You also need to create trial assignments and always check the quality of their communication. So check to see if they're actually listening. So once you onboard that person, then you need to be clear about what your system is, okay? And so with that in mind, this is making sure that, again, it's saved on the right space, okay? And so in this instance, the right space may be SharePoint, etc., etc. And so all I'm basically saying to you is be clear about what the system is. If you're not clear about what the system is, then it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what to do. It's going to be very difficult for you to understand what to do. And this is why I'm going through some of this stuff. So as it says here, your portfolio career should run like a consultancy with reusable assets and not just vibes. Because, I'm multifaceted and blah, blah. No. Stop all of that. We're trying to be professionals out here. So what's the next steps? The next step is centered around automating shouldn't be sort of like a situation or thing where you're not really automating. What am I trying to say? Automate stuff that you shouldn't be doing, in essence. I got distracted. That's why I said it weird. And so this is really having a good look at what your systems are. Now, systems aren't always a situation where you're using NA10 or make.com or Pably Connect or whatever it may be, and it's connected to this complex wiring. No. It doesn't have to be that. All a system is a set of routines. It's a process. It is input, process, output. That's all it is. And so whether you're using tech to do it or whether it's habitual by nature or whether you set up a plugin somewhere on your system or whether it's a calendar invite, kind of doesn't really matter. The point being made is that it just needs to make sense and improve your element of efficiency without compromising quality. That's what we're looking for. And so sometimes it's as basic as a Google reminder, GPT alerts if you're using them. I know I use them. AI ID generators. So you can use GPTs as an example, okay? Or gems from Gemini. You can use automations via your autoresponder via emails. You've got email categorization. If you're good with NA10, then you can set up a categorization setup. There's SOP generation. Okay, it may not necessarily be automatic. It depends on the system that you're using. But you can get, again, NA10 to do this automatically for you. Or you can just plonk the transcript into something like Gemini or whatever it may be. You just plonk it into Gemini and it'll do it for you. Maybe you have a set prompt. I save all my prompts in a folder on Google Drive. There's client follow-up sequences. So this comes back down to the email thing. So use the email autoresponder system. So there are so many things that you could do to make this work really, really well. This is what I'm doing for myself. Now, I'm still busy because I'm always taking on stuff, but it does mean that I can be consistent. And I think that's quite a powerful thing. I may not get the most views. I may not get the most engagement or whatever it may be, but I am badged for consistency. That is something that I'm hearing again and again and again. Now, will I be consistent forever? I'll do my best to be, but it's the systems that I'm building, whether that's automating or delegating, that enables me to be consistent, because my philosophy is you don't have to necessarily be like aggressively on it, although I think it helps. But I do think that if you keep on showing up again and again and again and you use intelligence in order to improve, then you put yourself in a position where you're more likely going to succeed, because most people give up. It's the truth. It happens. And so building in systems with that consistency just makes it makes it better, should I say, and you're in a better position. Okay, cool. So moving on. Again, these are all different ways in which you can utilize tech to help you automate your stuff. And I don't need to get into it, but you can see for yourself. There are so many different, and if you don't understand this stuff, you got a decision. Remember what I said before. You've got the 3 core buckets. You got, let's say main buckets. The core bucket, the growth bucket, and the learning bucket. If you've got nothing in your learning bucket, then utilize some time throughout your day to learn some of this stuff, if you want to do that. But if you're like, no, actually, money's on my side and time isn't, pay someone else to do it. And so if we keep on going and we move down, this is obviously other stuff you can do. And these are all things that I've tried myself. So whether it's getting a cleaner, meal prep, outsourcing planning, etc., even if you do it once, experience it for yourself. Try these things. There's also, when it comes to your consultancy or contracting work, there are SOP libraries, there are templates. That's recently become useful when onboarding new project managers, okay? There's also standardizing, your application process and how you reach out to people, using your Notion dashboards. There's all this different stuff that you can utilize. There's all this different stuff, okay? So you need to think to yourself, what can I do in order to automate and delegate my life, okay, or my business? So I've written here, freedom doesn't come from effort, it comes from systems. You don't automate tasks, you automate your identity, which is wild to think about because what is identity is what you believe you are or who you are. You design the life you want, then build the systems to sustain it. So context is key. It starts from context, then it comes to the goal, then it comes to, the plan, the objectives, then the plan, and then you sort of like implement that plan and then you monitor activity. It's straightforward. But we can't get distracted by shiny eye syndrome that prevents us from doing these things because when you truly have a system that works, it's beautiful. Mwah. I'm telling you, it's beautiful. So, as always, I'm going to sort of like remind you, if you're interested in downloading this PDF that has 11 key steps in order for you to escape the career trap, then definitely check the link below. Now, of course, to summarize, what I'm essentially saying is I have started to automate and delegate things in my life by being clear about what is my personal mandate, what is my business mandate, developing some sort of project brief, as they call it in the program world, to better understand what I want to do, or what I am doing, should I say. Then what I've done is I've done a bit of an audit, and every time I've done a specific task, I've broken it down into steps. But it's only been the tasks that have been things that are, I would say, urgent, but not important necessarily, or at least things that somebody else could be doing because they're better at doing it. So I've broken that down and I've acquired another partner, should we say, which is really a virtual assistant who acts as somebody who can implement some of this stuff on a regular basis. I paid him to do this in order for me to free up more time to do other stuff. Now, it doesn't mean I'm on the beach, sipping a pina colada, but it does mean I can focus on the things that are more, should we say, important and of a high priority. And so this doesn't just transcend into my business life, this transcends into other areas of my life because I can afford to put myself in a position where I can start to think about some of this stuff, but I have to obviously look at finances, where finances are involved. If finances aren't involved, I have to make a decision. Do I want to learn this stuff and create a more efficient way of doing this so it becomes more beneficial in my life? Even if it's like, I can't, not everyone can afford a chef or a cook. I don't have one, just so you know. But how do you make it efficient? So you need to be clear about what you eat on a monthly basis, on a bi-weekly basis. Maybe you're shopping every 2 weeks or every week. You know exactly what you need to spend, where you need to go. You have your list, you tick it, you know exactly where to go. In the shops, you got it on your Notion board. I know that sounds extreme, but trust me, I've been there. You know what meals you're making, okay? You know that if you make a chicken breast wrap with certain stuff within it, maybe with a side of sweet potato or something like that, that not only are you getting a good dose of protein for the day, but you're getting the right level of macros and micros. So this is all to say, engineer it. It takes time to do it. Don't try to do it all at once, but do it. Create some time to do it. Hopefully that was helpful. If you want to see more videos centered around portfolio careers, how to become an independent consultant, or just things centered around life management, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.